Welcome. You're tuned into Life is a Sacred Journey. Every week, we bring a new perspective to aging and caregiving. Here is your host, Michelle Pope.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you out in the virtual community neighborhood of Life is a Sacred Journey. It is so wonderful to be here with you this morning. I am Michelle Pope, and of course, I am your host of Life is a Sacred Journey. And this morning, we have with us Wanda Wallis, and I'm going to give you a little rundown on Wanda in a few minutes. I will tell you that she is a dear friend and has been a dear friend of mine for a long time now, I think over a decade, and been on the board of Alzheimer's Services of the East Bay, where she has brought, as I always say, her time, talent, and charm to the board. She has been instrumental in opening many doors for our organization to meet people and to become engaged and to partner with individuals. But she has another life, and it is in the real estate industry. And many of you out there in the virtual neighborhood have been sending me questions about real estate since Sunny, who actually Wanda knows and partners with in Contra Costa County on many, many projects. And I want to answer some of those questions. So she and I are going to engage in a conversation around that. But before we get there, I want to do another shout out to Norma. Norma is one of the folks that serves coffee at Dunkin' Donuts on Clayton Road. And I'm fasting, so I can't eat donuts now for another 17 days, but I still go in there on Fridays and get my coffee because, as you know, I drink coffee while I'm with you, and Dunkin' Donuts is my favorite coffee. But Norma realized that I was having difficulty keeping track of my mask. And she bought me this beautiful, I showed it to you, I think, last week, and it attaches to the mask so I can wear it around my neck and have it with me at all times. So shout out to Norma at the Dunkin' Donuts on Clayton Road near Treat Boulevard, and to all my buddies there at Dunkin' Donuts. The morning crew is the bestest crew. Those are my buddies. So good morning to Dunkin' Donuts on Clayton Road, and thank you for your great customer service. You go above and beyond to make sure everybody gets their day started with a smile. And I'm especially happy for my large coffee, regular with no sugar. So thank you so much. And then I also have to make a shout out to the Berkeley Lions Club. The Berkeley Lions Club is a group of very social justice conscious individuals who have been donating PPE, masks, hand sanitizer, all of those things to Alzheimer's Services of the East Bay, as well as other nonprofits throughout the Alameda County and the Berkeley area. So I just want to shout out to the Berkeley Lions Club. They have been partners with Alzheimer's Services of the East Bay. And because of them and many of you out there, Christine, on our board, we are still able to provide care and remain COVID-free. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So let me tell you a little bit about Wanda, and then we will get into our conversation. Wanda is a realtor who has 25 years of outside and inside sales experience with Fortune 500 companies. She has a deep concern for the welfare of seniors, and that led her to become one of the few licensed realtors to earn the designation of Seniors Real Estate Specialist from the National Association of Realtors. Her understanding of the mature market enables her to educate, advise seniors on a wide range of housing options and to aid them in making choices that will enhance their quality of life. RE/MAX Accord has honored Wanda as one of their top producers for 2008 and 2019. And she is a member of the National Association of Realtors, Contra Costa Association of Realtors, and the East Bay Association of Realtors. She provides outstanding real estate and related services in Contra Costa, Alameda, and Solano County. Wanda has a BA in Communications and Business from Azusa Pacific University in Azusa, California. I like saying that, Azusa. She is very active in Walnut Creek and an active member of the Walnut Creek Chamber of Commerce. I mean, she is an ambassador, and she has served as the chairperson, of course, of the Ambassador Committee for the last 7 years. She and her husband, Larry, enjoy golfing, traveling, and simply enjoying quality time together. And their son, Diallo, recently joined Wanda in her business, and I'm happy to say he is also a PT aide here at Alzheimer's Services of the East Bay, because he is following in the footstep of his mom with a love for seniors. And so I welcome to Life is a Sacred Journey to our coffee time, Wanda Wallace. Good morning, Wanda.
Good morning, Michelle. Thank you for that lovely introduction. And I just wanted to make one correction. I've been with my company for 17 years.
17 years. Okay.
Yeah, with Remax, Remax Accord in Lafayette. And I've been there for 17 years. And actually, since 2008, I've been blessed to be in the top producers. So from 2008 till the last one.
Till now. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And so that's an honor. And sometimes it amazes me on how did you do that?
Well, I think it's transparency. It's, working with people with a value system that you have. You are, I will disclose, and I always do. I know Wanda is a Christian, and so she carries those values with her in her business and in the way that she communicates with other people. So it's not trying to just make a buck, quickly, move you in, move you out. It's about quality of life and listening and discerning what people are looking for as they purchase a home, whether they're just purchasing their first home or they're a senior who is looking to do something different. So Wanda, I want to start by asking you, the COVID has changed the way that people are purchasing homes and the way that people are selling homes. Can you kind of tell us what that looks like now as a realtor when people are either selling or looking for a home?
Well, when the coronavirus first hit and everything was shut down, people just immediately, most of them stopped doing anything. They were so afraid, so they didn't want people to come into their houses. They didn't want to purchase because everything was uncertain. However, this is a strange thing. Less sellers were willing to sell their houses, but buyers were still out there, multiple buyers trying to buy houses. They didn't care. They looked at it as an opportunity, which it was, while others are on the sideline. But the difference, what happens now, we no longer have open houses. Remember, you used to see all the open house signs out?
I used to like coming.
Right. In most cases, even new homes, you cannot just show up and tour a new home. You have to have an appointment. Everybody has to sign a form stating that you understand about COVID and the risk and that you do not have any COVID symptoms that you know of. So that is required of everybody entering a home, and we can only have 2 people at a time in a home. So
okay, so just you and the one family member?
No. They can have 2, me, so it will be 3. Before sometimes some of the people brought, 10 people with them. Yeah. You can no longer do that. It's changed it in that sense, and then we have to go through a sanitizing ritual, wiping everything down, wearing booties. So it has become a lot more work into that, and less spontaneous actions from buyers.
Okay. For instance, if it's a brand new home, are people still able to stage the home? Is that still
yes. I actually have several new homes now that I'm listing for a developer, and we don't stage all the houses for the cost.
Right.
Yes, stagers are still working. They're still considered essential workers. For a while, realtors were off that list, and then, of course, we have a great lobbying body for realtors. And so we got back on as essential workers. So everybody involved with real estate, be it repair people were always there. They never left. So if the plumber, of course you can't, stop that.
You need a plumber.
But stagers are now back as essential. So everything is staged.
So when it comes to this time, when I'm reading that a lot of people are leaving California, particularly elder folks are selling their properties and moving where the cost of living is lower. And they can get more for their bang for their buck, or they're selling their property so that they can go into a Rossmore type of setting.
A senior community.
That. So can you talk a little bit about that and what the advantages or disadvantages are to that?
Well, I can tell you, going back to Proposition 13, which was passed in, I believe it was 1978, and that helped seniors maintain their property tax because property taxes were going up and they couldn't afford it. So then the taxes would only increase by 2% a year over whatever your basis was. So if you bought a house for $200,000 back then your property taxes would only increase. Although in 78, you probably bought one for $50,000.
Right.
And your property tax only increased 2% per year. So that's been on the books. Then now, just last year, the voters passed Prop 19.
Right.
Okay, so I think the reason that Prop 19 was passed, two reasons, main reasons. One is there weren't a lot of properties because older people were staying in their homes. And so that meant they're staying in the really good neighborhoods with the good schools. And now all these other people are coming up and they want to put their kids in the school, but the seniors aren't letting go. Because where are they going? Okay. They would have to go to a senior community or something, and that would incur more cost. And also the other thing was if your kids lived in Southern California and you wanted to move there, you could not take your property tax basis to Southern California.
That's what I heard.
Right. There were only a few counties that you could interchange with. Now you could buy anything in the same county that you lived in, but in most cases you could not change. With that, with the properties not coming out on the market, I think the main reasons, and less taxes to the government, of course, and the realtors were influential in this too, because we want properties to sell, right? Mm-hmm. So Prop 19 passed, and it was only a slim majority that it passed. So it's kind of like, 51-49 kind of deal. But in that, some things changed. Before on 13, you could inherit your parents' property at the same tax basis. Now, that has changed. You have to live in that property. If you inherit it, say your mother dies, you inherit the property, you have to live in it. You can't just say, I'm going to sell it and not have to pay all those taxes, or I'm going to rent it out. And the other thing under Prop 19, rental properties and vacation homes don't fall under that tax protection. To me, it's kind of complicated because I heard attorneys discussing it. And really, you need to have somebody help you. And all of this stuff takes effect February 16th. But really February 11th because the holiday and the weekend. So the 16th is on a Tuesday and Monday is a holiday. Okay. So you have to file everything. If you have within a year of that death of that parent to file to keep that, tax basis. And if you didn't do it in that period of time, they don't go back. They reassess that property. Oh, my goodness. So once somebody dies, you have that year window to, not have that property reassessed because they're not going to give you a do-over. Okay. So I would suggest that anybody that has questions about Prop 19, they consult their tax professional or a real estate attorney along with your CPA. Because it can be complicated according to whatever kind of property you have. And mainly it affects people with a lot of property, rental property, commercial property. But what the main reason they said was for people that had high incomes and high property. But now in California, everything costs a lot. You're living in which people would consider a poor neighborhood, but your house still costs $900,000. Yeah. So it will affect everybody in some way. So that's one of those things that I think people should consult. If they're coming up or they have a death within the last year, they definitely need to move on that because that property will be reassessed.
So the other side of that is the parents may have purchased that home for $30,000, $40,000, and now it's worth $500,000. And so the tax.
No, Michelle, now it's worth $1 million.
Okay, so now it's worth $1 million. Okay, thank you for helping me.
Yeah.
So the reality is that child has to make a choice of whether they want to stay in that neighborhood, live in that neighborhood, move there, or if they want to use it as rental property or whatever, it's going to be a reassess at the higher value, and then their tax will go up.
Right.
Okay. So that's good for people to know, and for you all out there in the virtual neighborhood to share, because I remember when we were looking at that on the ballot to make a ballot card for the Black community when we were trying to get out our Get Out and Vote campaign. And we didn't quite understand what the ramifications would be to the person that was left behind. We understood that it's still protected the seniors. I know that's where I came at it, but I had no clue what that might do for someone, because the rent, even if they rented it, the rent might not cover the tax, right?
Right, and especially if they lived in a city like Berkeley that has rent control, and that property is worth $2 million, and mom and dad have rented it for the same rent to the same people for 25 years.
Wow.
They're not. Also, too, Prop 19 was a way to help homeowners because of all the fires. And so they might have lived in their home a long time. Now, if they bought a new one, built a new one, now it's a different value. Yeah. So they got to stay and disable people, because a lot of times people can't move, they're disabled, have little incomes. You know, there's good things and there's bad things. I think for people that live in a high value area, real estate value like we do, I don't know. It's kind of like the verdict is not it for me.
I think Wanda gave us all really good advice. Get this team of people around you, the CPA, the real estate attorney, all these folks, so that you can figure out what's best for the short term.
This is complicated even for me. I know about real estate and I know about these different things, but even for me, this is complicated.
As we age and maybe we're renters, let's just say we're renters, and all of us, you know, after the age of 65, and we want to move, maybe we come into some money, or we've saved enough money now that we have enough to get into the housing market. Is that really something someone should do at that age, or should they continue to rent? I mean, what other options are there? There are no other options, is there?
There aren't any, really. Most of the people that I see that move into senior communities, and I don't mean you moved into assisted living. That's a different kind of thing.
I know what you mean.
But in active lifestyle communities for people 55 and above, those are people that have mainly been previous homeowners. So they owned a home someplace else, so they sold it, and then they moved into that community, and they were able to carry their tax bases. Under Prop 13, you could carry it over as long as it was equal or less. Okay. And for example, Rossmore, in most cases, average house in Rossmore, I would say you could find something nice for a condo for $500,000. Most people are going to sell their homes for more than that. Mm-hmm. So you're still under that protection. Although they do have $2 million homes in Rossmore, but most people don't opt for those. Right. And so you would be. But for everybody renting, it's almost impossible unless you had a lot of money stored up, because the buy-in is so expensive. Yeah. And I have people call me and they want to buy something. And I said, what is your budget per month? And if they tell me, oh, I only want to pay $1,500, well, you can barely find rent for $1,500. So my suggestion to them is stay where you are. Unless you have a lot of cash, it's not going to work.
So again, as we age in place, live longer, and whatever our financial status, I know we had Jason Matthews here to talk about financing and Social Security and pulling different revenue streams into the retirement situation to remain financially solvent going into the future. If you're going to be a renter, plan for that for a long haul. What is the rental percentage like every year? Is there a cap?
Well, it depends on the cities, because some cities have rent control. And I tell investors, you definitely don't want to buy in a rent control city, Because if you buy a property in a rent-controlled city, in most cases, you're going to inherit the tenants. And then what you pay for that property is going to be more than what the income is. So that's why it's kind of difficult sometimes for people to sell their property that has tenants. And because of COVID-19, you cannot evict somebody, even if they're not paying their rent.
Right.
You cannot evict them. And, that's kind of sad that some people take advantage of that.
Well, I just read in the paper, Wanda, that there's a landlord over, I think, in San Francisco, and he evicted, I think, 10 people during COVID, and they're just finding out about him. But those people have already been evicted. I think that's kind of cold-hearted in the middle of a pandemic and shelter in place to evict people.
I don't know what his situation to do all 10 people.
Yeah.
But in some cases, people take advantage because they feel like, I don't have to pay. The government says I don't have to pay. Instead of negotiating with that landlord and say, look, my husband doesn't work anymore, so we can pay you half the rent. Or we can pay you something, because what if that were your parent or something and that was their extra income to cover their life?
Right.
Because they might not be getting that much on Social Security or whatever their pension is. It's both sides. There's, good and bad.
Well, and the other side of the coin is this. And again, friends, thank you for joining us. This is Life is a Sacred Journey. You've joined us in a wonderful conversation with Wanda Wallis. We're talking about just real estate and different aspects of it. So now moving into, hit the share button, by the way, and moving into the Rossmoor, or a community like a Rossmoor. Mm-hmm. What is the benefit of doing that? Is it, some people say, well, I don't have to worry about my front yard anymore, but it's more than that, right?
No, it's a community, because a lot of times when people get older, even if you live in your own home, all of your neighbors have either moved away or moved on to, they passed. Yep. So, because most of the neighbors were your same age when you bought that house.
Right.
So now a lot of seniors are more isolated. Their kids could possibly live in another city, another state, or they just don't have any family. So when you move to a community, and there are several of them around, there's one in Pleasanton, Brentwood, Trilogy, and up in Sonoma area too. Santa Rosa has some nice ones, but locally in the Bay Area here, the most well known is Rossmoor. And that is a community that has everything. You have all kinds of activities. I mean, no matter what you want to do, there's a group for everything. Yes. They have a Black Lives Matter group in Rossmoor, okay?
Yes.
You and I went to the African American
they had a great event.
Picnic. Yeah. So for Juneteenth. Yeah. So Rossmoor is becoming more diverse. Before it has a population of almost 10,000 residents. So it is its own.
Oh, it's its own little city, kind of.
It's its own city. It has its own fire department right there. So everything that you can imagine, people would say, no, I don't want to be in one of those. But once you get there, there's a theater. They have 3 pools. They have gyms. You really don't have to worry about anything. And just recently, Gay, one of my clients, Michelle, you know her. She loves it. I saw her this week and she says, I love it here. Good. I don't have to worry about anything and, crime or anything like that. And so I would say the main thing.
She's independent still. She's living an independent life. I mean,
she is living in her own place.
Yeah. It's not assisted living or anything.
Right. They do have, within Rossmoor, if you need assisted living, they have a couple of buildings where that's what they provide for you. They give you the meals, you can have the caregiver, all that. For the most part, most of Rossmoor is independent. And here's the thing, Rossmoor used to be a long time ago, one of my friends who was a teacher said when she taught school, the kids called Rossmoor God's waiting room. And that was, I know, that was like 20 something years ago. They were calling God's waiting room. Because most people died when they were in their 60s and 70s. If you lived in the 80s, Originally in Rossmoor, you could move in at 45. It was mainly for people that were teachers and things that didn't have a lot of money, but they wanted to live there. So it's sister with Leisure World in Southern California, same buildings. Now Rossmoor is 55 and up. They move the age up to 55 instead of 45. But there are so many people that are young in Rossmore.
Yeah.
It is amazing that still go to work from every background you can imagine.
No, I was surprised. I mean,
yeah.
I even, there's a lot of retired artisans Bay Area. Wanda, as Wanda said,
yeah.
there's a lot of musicians, bless you, that are from the Bay Area that have retired there, artists, lawyers. I even met a gentleman that was one of the civil rights attorney here in the Bay Area in the 60s. I had a long conversation with him over shrimp cocktail. Those kind of communities, and that's what Life is a Sacred Journey is all about, is that we're trying to say to all of you, keep your life active. If you're in a neighborhood where all your friends have passed away, moved away, and you have property, and you think that, you know, I still want to live an active life and I don't want to have to feel like, you know, I'm alone and stuck. Rossmore type of setting might be what you're looking for. There's also apartments. I know there's some condo kind of experiences near where I live over in the East Bay.
Right, there's senior apartment complexes.
Yes, and
those the rents are lower.
Yes, the rents are lower, and they have a waiting list because
absolutely.
They have a waiting list because I asked one of them through the fence one day. She said, yeah, it took me 5 years to get in here. So she said, if you're interested in moving in here, you need to put your name on the list now. And I was turning 60. But
you know what? Yeah, I wanted to say too, that is so true because there is a housing crisis right now for seniors.
Yeah.
And they are getting displaced. And even mobile home parks, they're getting displaced. Like there's one in Benicia and the owner wanted to sell it. So I don't know what state that's in right now. The mobile home park is still there. And if he sold it, it would no longer be a mobile home park. Well, a lot of people that are older live there. That brings me to the point of staying on the mobile home. There are senior mobile home parks. The prices of mobile homes have gone up. I actually have 2 mobile home listings right now, and thank goodness they're in escrow. But mobile homes used to be people that I don't want to live in a mobile home park. They said trailer park or whatever, and you could buy those things $50,000. You have to pay a space rent, but you could buy something. Now those are crazy. The price of those on older, I'm talking about a mobile home built in 1975, will go for $175,000.
Whoa.
Which those things used to be like 50, 60, 70. And newer ones are called manufactured homes. So if they were built after that, say like 2000, those are manufactured homes. Some of those are really nice once you're inside. I have one of those that just went into escrow, and those go for around $200,000. And the space rent is anywhere from, in these places, from say $600 to $1,000 a month, and that's the space you have to for that location.
But the rental, it just covers the space. What about?
It just covers the space. It does not cover the cost of your mobile home or your utilities. So you're going to tack on another $300 at least for your utilities on there, which is paid through the card. However, more and more people are looking for those because where else can they go?
Yeah.
If you can buy a mobile home for $150,000, even if the rent on the space is $1,000, you couldn't go anyplace else.
No, and still have a separate space of your own.
Exactly.
And all of that. No.
Yes.
And like you just said, the mobile homes that are housing more seniors, they're changing that mobile home, you know, because most people thought the mobile homes of where, you know, there's a bunch of files and, you know, and there's, you know, it's the PG movie where the slasher.
Exactly.
So
you thought of them as a trailer.
Trust me, I watch those movies. The slasher always lives in a trailer park. So
and the tornado always came through the trailer park too.
But what we're talking about is this new wave where the trailer park owners are realizing that this is a market too. And so creating a safe place and fixing them up and allowing people.
Yes, they're fixing them all up now. And you mentioned too, something else that we had talked about offline was tiny homes. So tiny homes they can be either fixed to the ground or on wheels. And you've seen them in like the Tiny Home Nation, and they take it's on wheels, and you can just pull it and park out in the forest or wherever you want to go, or, you know, a piece of land that you might have. There's one place in the Bay Area on Muir Island, and they have a tiny house park on Muir Island. And they're manufactured. So you buy them. There's lots of manufacturers around locally. They're like prefab houses, and they put them together, and you can buy them for $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000. Depends on what, you know. What you want, right? What you want. But I would say probably around 40,000 would be. And then you go to these parks and you stay there. So you can pack up your home, hitch up your home and move somewhere else. But Muir Island has that right now. So that is the only place that I know around here that actually is dedicated to that. Okay. And we need more of that, though. We need more of those kinds of. But then you need the land. That's what the problem is. The land. And land is so expensive now. So developers come in, they're not going to put a tiny house park there, because they can slide on a 2,000 square foot lot, a house that they can charge $1 million for. Yeah. So they're not going to do a little tiny house that they can only get 150 for. Right. They're going to do something else. And the other thing that we were talking about and discussing was the ADUs. Where you mentioned somebody in Berkeley, the city was fining them because they put a little house in the back for their mom. Or daughter or somebody. So most cities, Berkeley is kind of like a creature of its own. They make their own rules. But most cities now are doing that. And you live in Concord, and Concord is really high on that. They're even laxing some of the rules, because there are certain rules that when you're building a house, it has to have so much frontage, so much this. So they're relaxing a lot of those rules now, because cities want more high density because of all of the, there's not available housing anywhere. So now they're allowing you to put those on your property, and it doesn't have to be for your family. You could put it on there and rent it out. So that would give somebody else a place to live, plus help, say, the homeowner that had been there a long time and needed more income. I love that idea, Wanda, because, you know, I always tell my children, you know, don't worry, we can build a tiny home and you can just throw me in the backyard, just give me a nice little corner. But at the end of the day, even if there's people that own property, this is good. Thank you for this. You know, it's like that the golden girl kind of syndrome, where if you own the house and the property, I can rent space in your backyard or a portion thereof, and put a tiny house there, and it's a win-win for everybody. Or as young people, millennials, as your parents age in place, if your parents need assistance and help, you can put a tiny house in your sidebar yard or whatever. They can live there. You can still have your house separate from them. They can have independence, but everybody is together. What I've seen too is the parents, they get the tiny house for the parents, and the kids move into the main house that they grew up in, and the parents go to the tiny house. Yes, I love that. I saw there's a place in Seattle, outside of Seattle, that's like that most of the people that live on the property, it's exactly, you know, on the tiny houses they were showing. The kids had moved into the main house, the parent or parents moved into the tiny house. And what they loved about it is the grandchildren just kind of ran back and forth. Which makes it nice. Yeah. And do you think, though, Wanda, that because of COVID, because of the need for more real estate, that we're going to have to look at all of these different models to ensure that people are housed? I think absolutely, because that is what we're in right now, is a housing crisis. Because you see all the homeless people every place. Now, granted, a lot of those people have other issues, but there are families that are homeless. If you lost your job during COVID, a lot of times you wouldn't be homeless because of the law that they passed. But say COVID now is over and they've lifted that restriction of eviction. you're going to be evicted. If you haven't paid your rent in a year, the landlord can't afford to have you live there for free just because you lost your job.
Right, right.
And so that means that you're going to probably be homeless. Even before the pandemic, a lot of people didn't have any money. So if they lost their job, they probably had 1 to 2 months of staying in that place if they didn't get more income, because they were not going to be able to come up with $2,000, $3,000, even on the low end, $1,500. Renting rooms can be $1,000.
I know.
Just renting a room, and then the requirements from the landlords, and rightly so, because they're trying to protect their interests. Even though you may be a good person and pay your bills, they've had the experience of all the other ones that didn't.
Right, right. And that's where Jason and I were talking about that the advocacy needs to be with the banks, that this conversation needs to be had with banks, because the homeowner, it has a bill, and right. The banks haven't said to the homeowner during COVID, you don't have to pay this bill. And so right. The reality is that trickles down to somebody who is poorer for whatever, right. Within the socioeconomic structure, and it's the banks. And the reality is, and Jason and I had a real great dialogue. We bailed them out when right. they screwed up. And at the end of the day,
that's so true.
Come on, guys, I'm like, come on, Wells Fargo, because let's just call it Union Bank, Bank of America, all of these big banks that actually own most of the property, because you don't own nothing if you send in a bill to a bank for payment.
Exactly.
You don't own it. They own it. And so at the end of the day, we're not even in the middle of it. We're going into year 2 of a pandemic. Right. And the governor saying don't pay your rent is cool until the bank tells that homeowner, you got to pay up. Then that homeowner feels the pressure, and it's going to trickle down. And right. and so with bank people, if there's any of you out there, and I'm, this little show, you probably are not a CEO watching Life is a Sacred Journey, because you would have to, first of all, think that life is sacred. And in doing so, you wouldn't have to hear me tell you that you need to give people a break, because you would already have done that. So let's just lift that up, because that is the honest to God truth, that if you are a bank or a mortgage company or whatever, you have an obligation to have a value structure that matches what's going on in the community. And we all bailed you out when you did what you did, and you did it on purpose and knowingly. We bailed you out. We said, okay, we slapped your hands and let you move on. Now the community is asking for your support, because this is not a California thing. This is a worldwide thing, and right. Everybody's going to be affected. Wanda, don't you think, for quite some time? This is 2021 Absolutely. Is not our salvation, is it?
Well, we're looking too at right now, everything is on a hold. So people that were in the process before the pandemic, say you were behind on your mortgage, yes. And you were in foreclosure. All that came to a halt. So those people could not be foreclosed on. But one day you got to pay the piper, right? So it's just inevitable that it's going to come around. Yeah. That this is going to be lifted one day, and then all of these evictions are going to start. Everything is going to start. And at some point, you're looking at it like, how does this end?
Yeah. How does it end? And does it
for poor people? Now, for poor people, because I'm looking at people every day, and I sell all the way down to like Fremont over there. These people come in, and it's nothing to say, 1.5. Okay, I got 30%, or I have cash. Those people are not affected. And those are the people with the jobs that don't go away. They work from home.
There you go.
They work from home, or they own their own corporation that does something that's not affected as much. And the people that went down to the local store or the restaurant are those are the people that are going to be the homeless people. They have nowhere else to go. They're already at the bottom. They can't fall any further.
No, they can't. And the bottom line is I've had to fix your mic, but yeah, the bottom line is this: is that when we come up with these slogans where we say we're all in this together, it needs to mean more than just a slogan and something that we spewed out, because I think this pandemic has shown us the lack of humanity and that big word back there, empathy, that we have as a community of the human race. You know, I am blessed that I have been able to continue to pay my monthly obligations throughout COVID and continue to, but not everybody is that fortunate.
No, that's very true. And I hear stories all the time, and even back when everybody was going into foreclosure with, you know, with the bank thing and stuff, some of the stories were so heartbreaking, because I thought the banks were so cold, because this person could have continued to pay the bank what they were paying if they had said, okay, we're not going to double your mortgage now. We'll just let you keep paying until we get out of this.
Right.
They wouldn't do that. I mean, and some of the places that were foreclosed on were just little hovels. I mean, they weren't like some big mansion and somebody's trying to get over. It was just a place to house their family.
In full transparency, Life is a Sacred Journey family, I was one of those people. I had a condo that put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in. People in the community, friends helped me to purchase because they gave me money to help me to come up with that down payment. And it was a countrywide loan that went to B of A after, and then B of A after 3.5, almost 4 years of paying countrywide, and then the bubble hit, that thing happened, and then they took my mortgage payment and tripled it. Right. So from a $1,200 something mortgage to a $3,000 something mortgage, which was impossible. And had it not been for me knowing Wanda and her support and help through this, I don't know what I would have done. But they didn't. The thing that was so hard for me, I wrote letters. I did exactly what Wanda said, offered, let's get through this time. I'm not the only one. This is like going on throughout the whole state of California with countrywide. The attorney general's after countrywide. It's a countrywide loan. Why are you blaming me? No, B of A never called me back, never sent me a letter, never had a conversation with me. And I had to be the one that was proactive to move my family and not get embarrassed with an eviction notice on my door. So I've been there. And so I know what some people are feeling right now and what people felt then. Right. And Wanda was on it, and she worked with B of A, and she got somebody to purchase the condo so that I could get out of it without my credit being ripped apart and torn apart for no reason, because it wasn't about bad credit. So again, finding someone, a good real estate agent, somebody who knows about the real estate laws, and having major conversations before. Wanda has taught me this. Don't sit back with something as huge as real estate. That's the biggest asset. No, actually your life is the biggest asset.
Yeah, that's true.
But a physical asset, meaning something that you buy. Your home, the property that actually your home is worth nothing, the property that it sits on, all of that, to protect it in a time of pandemic, of financial decay, all of that. Figure out different ABC plans so that you know whether you're selling it, renting it, and what it means to benefit your life, because that's what it's all about. It's the only asset that you have that can help long term. Is that?
And Michelle, I want to add something. You triggered something in there. Please, everybody, because I see this. People die without a trust, and they have one property or multiple properties. And if that happens, it's going to probate. If you have a will will not protect your home from going to probate. It's going to go, it's real property. It's going to go to probate. If you're a renter and all you have is a car and your possessions, you can have a will. But if you own real property, you must have a trust. And I've heard the thing of, oh, they cost too much. I'd have to pay $2,500 or something. You've got a house worth $500,000. You've got family. You're going to put that burden on them. Now they've got to go secure an attorney, spend thousands, tens of thousands to the attorney. Plus, the attorney is not the problem. It's the taxes you're paying on that. And it could take a year, 2 years, depending on what's involved and how much property. And I sometimes wonder, we discuss that and we say, why would somebody that owns $2, $3, $4 million worth of property, even if it's only one little shanty shack, you know, protect your family from the headache?
Yes.
That is something that's going to be a problem. No matter how you look at it, it's going to be a problem later. So, and there are excellent attorneys. Michelle and I know estate attorneys, and I know estate attorneys, and definitely you need to have somebody. And we also know, a little plug for Julie Fiedler. She is excellent. Her life is senior. She's a senior advisor. She's an attorney. She started off as a nurse taking care of her family members, and because of the injustice, that's how she became an attorney. And there's a lot of veterans out there that don't understand their rights and what they can do. Yeah. So, and
I'll actually give Julie a call, and we'll get her on Life is a Sacred Journey, because she could share some valuable information.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, she's really good. She's excellent, actually. Wanda, how do people get a hold of you if they have questions about their property and as it relates to their long-term living plan?
Oh, thank you, Michelle. I'm Wanda Wallace, and I spell my last name Wallis, Wanda Wallace. And I am with Remax Accord in Lafayette, California. And my email is wanda@wandawallace.com. And my phone number is 925-915-0795. And you can always reach Michelle, and she has all my contact information also. And you can Google me. I'm on there too. Everybody's online. Okay, so.
Shirley is saying hello to you, and good morning.
Oh, hey, Shirley.
And good morning to Betty and Stuart and Carol and Brent, all of them, all of you out there, and all my church UMW women who support Life is a Sacred Journey. Thank you so much. We are at the end of our time, and you know, I always love conversations that go over the allotted half hour because it means that there's a flow, and you know, that's easy. As a transparency again, Wanda and I are really good friends, and so at the end of the day, this is not a hard conversation to have. So I want to thank you, Wanda, for taking time out. She's actually on a little staycation out of her house.
Yes.
Vacation in California.
It's over today. And I told Larry, I said, I don't want to go home. But hey, I got work stacked up there too. So I've got to get back.
She's got to get back, but she took time this morning. And as I offline, Wanda and I actually talked to each other in the morning when she was coming home from the gym or getting ready to go to the gym, and we pray, and you know, we have that random acts of kindness thing going on between the two of us. But at the end of the day, the reality is she is doing work in a community that we need to understand more and more as we become advocates, not only for the people that we love, but advocates for ourselves, and then advocates for the greater community, because you never know when you need help. You never know when somebody is in your family, or somebody that is you just brush by, a stranger, is going to need your act of kindness. And so Life is a Sacred Journey is about putting acts of kindness gems in your toolkit, so that when you run across somebody and they're telling you their story about their property or whatever, you can say, oh my gosh, on Life is a Sacred Journey, I heard Wanda Wallace say, I'm going to call her and ask. Or I heard Jason talk about money, and I'm going to call him and ask. It's not about calling Michelle Pope call me because you know I love you. But it's about calling the resources that you have heard and learned about on Life is a Sacred Journey. So
Michelle, can I just say one thing? Yeah. I don't profess to be a know-it-all about everything, but one thing that my friends say, and you say too, call Wanda. She knows somebody that is a professional and an expert in that area, and that's what I can say.
Wait a minute, I'm gonna tell a quick story here, Wanda. Last Friday, water is pouring into the program floor from the rain. We have a flat membrane foam roof here in Berkeley. The first person that I picked up the phone and called was Wanda. I said, Wanda, and she's like, okay, we'll call, I'll get you somebody. She calls a roofer that she works with in her business. He was here within 2 hours. Thank you, Jason. Got up on the roof, figured it all out, charged me, okay, and the leak is solved. We have some more work to do up there, but it was Wanda. So, one night I left here and the faucet, the outdoor faucet thing was broken. Somebody had been messing with it and it cracked and water was just flowing out of the building. It was 9:30 at night. Oh my gosh. I call Wanda. Wanda calls Sonny, who you all have met. Sonny calls somebody and he says, Michelle, you have to turn the water off. I'm like, I know, but I can't lift this thing. And all these people started with one call with Wanda. And I was not alone. 25 minutes later, our board president showed up. Jason. We have 2 Jasons in our life now. Turned off the water. The following day, I went to Bill's Ace Hardware in Concord. Thank you, Bill. I love that Ace Hardware store, my favorite people. And got the thing, put it on, and it was a done deal. But it all started with the SOS to Wanda. So if you have an SOS need, as it relates to your real estate or the real estate of a friend, and you're trying to figure out what to do, she's left you her information, give her a call, send her an email. And if she doesn't know, she'll find somebody that does know. And you can trust that that person will have ethics and value system, because that's
absolutely.
That's how she rolls. She doesn't. She's like me. We don't go down. We don't.
No shady people. No
shade. We don't do the shade. We're not mad at you, Shady. But
that's right.
Okay, we don't talk about you. We forgive you, but but you can't. You can't get on our train. Okay.
I like that, girl.
All right. Thank you so much, and happy Friday. Wanda, stay on a minute. Happy Friday, all of you here at Life is a Sacred Journey. You are magnificently and wonderfully made, and be the best you can be, because that's what changes the world, one person at a time. Be at peace and have a wonderful, great weekend. Thank you, Wanda.
Thank you, Michelle.